Welcome to my YouTube channel. I assure you that you have made a right choice by investing your time in this video.
Hello everyone, welcome to our 4-part video series regarding simplifying AML safety process. Although this video series focuses more around AML safety areas, but the concept listed here is applicable in any other risk management areas, say compliance department or any risk management function. Let us now begin. People tend to forget that anti-money laundering and terrorism financing process is a part of risk management function. So whenever we are thinking to initiate AML safety process in our organization, we always need to start from risk assessment process. First, we need to determine what are AML safety risks that our organization is facing. Then only we can determine what controls are needed to be placed to mitigate those risks. And these controls are usually in the form of AML safety policy, procedures, training, and others. So the learning objective of this video tutorial series are: 1. How to carry AML safety risk assessment process. 2. How to create AML safety policies and procedure. 3. How to establish AML safety organization structure. And finally, how to provide training to employees to implement above policies and procedures. In this video series, we'll focus on how rather than what. You already know the concepts like what is risk assessment, what is policies, why we need them, and so on. The main objective of most of trainings or seminars regarding any risk management is to provide you with concepts only. You need concept, there is no denying that, but mere knowledge is not sufficient. You should be able to apply them in practical life. This is where skill comes, and that is the main purpose of this video, to help you develop necessary competencies regarding AML safety risk identification, assessment, and mitigation. Let us move on to AML safety risk management. First stage of any risk management is risk identification. There are 4 key risk factors as per standard AML safety practices. Customer risk. Different customers may carry different level of risk. The organization may face money laundering and terrorism financing risk if they are not properly identified and their transactions are not monitored effectively and continuously. For instance, if the customers are politically exposed person, gold jewelers, arms and ammunition producers, then they are high risk customers in relation to private salaried customers who are low risk customers. Product risk and services. Product and services risk. The product and services of the organization carry different money laundering and terrorism financing risk. For example, remittance, electronic banking, wire transfer products are high risk in nature as organizations are unable to verify the flow of the transaction, meaning they may know the beneficiary, who are usually their customers, but unable to verify applicants. Transaction and delivery channel risk. Delivery channel also exposes organization to money laundering risk. For example, cash withdrawal and deposit transaction is high risk than account transfer because we are not able to trace the trail of cash transaction once it leaves from organization. Geographic risk. Different geographical location or country can have different risk levels of money laundering and terrorism financing. For example, Iran is a sanctioned country, so customers coming from Iran are high risk category customers. Once we have identified our risk factors and its components, we are going to identify different control measures that we have in our organization. This spreadsheet shows how we have categorized different risk factors along with their components and risk weightage. These are the types of customer that organization is providing its product and services. Here we have assumed that this organization is a bank. These are the types of product and services that is provided by the bank to its customer. These are the types of transaction that customer can perform in their bank accounts. Finally, we have country of residence of these customers. The individual items of each 4 risk factors are given risk weightage as shown in this table. Kindly note that these risk assessments are subjective in nature. You can assume your risk weightage. We have assumed high risk to be of numerical value of 3, medium risk of 2 and low risk of 1. After this, you can calculate risk value of each risk factor like this. Now we know that what is risk value. It is time to determine mitigation factors to control this risk. Some example of these safeguards are new products review from compliance department, customer screening, wire transfer monitoring, transaction monitoring and STR reporting, KYC, CDD, and many others. Now we need to determine how effective those controls are in mitigating those risks. In other words, we need to determine the control strength of each safeguards. The control strength is dependent upon various factors. For example's sake, we have assumed that the control strength is dependent upon the 2 factors. First is whether the said control is included in the policy or not, and second is if it is incorporated in the policy, then it is implemented or not. If both criteria is achieved, then control strength of that safeguard is higher, which is given in percentage. For example, customer screening. If not, then control strength will be low, like wire transfer monitoring. Now it's time to determine residual risk. The residual risk is derived after deducting control strength from total risk. From this table, the total risk value from the customer nature is 199,280. Since the control strength is 40%, the residual risk will be 60%. Hence, the value will be 49820. The residual risk rating is based on the total risk of organization, which is residual risk divided by total risk. The last remaining step is to evaluate whether this residual risk is acceptable to your organization or not. That is, residual risk should be below or equal to organization risk appetite. If the risk appetite is less than residual risk, then we need to implement more controls. Whereas if the residual risk is more than risk appetite, then that means you are investing more on controls. Therefore, you need to reduce your expenditure in controls to save organization resources. This is the end of first part of this video series. See you in the next video where we will talk about AML safety policy and procedure. To know more, please visit the articles given in the video description section. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video if you have found this video useful.